Well, there are new developments in the Michael Flynn case. Michael Flynn's legal team now asking an appeals court to remove the judge on his case. Joining us now, Vinoo, the constitutional attorney, along with Scott Walker and Heidi Collins. Also this, Congressman Bill Johnson of Ohio trying to get Judge Emmet Sullivan impeached. Johnson writes that he will introduce a bill in Congress saying that Sullivan had, quote, far exceeded his authority in the Michael Flynn case and that he would initiate an investigation into Sullivan's conduct. Vinoo, in your legal experience, would you anticipate Judge Sullivan being removed from this case?
Not at all. And you got to understand a couple things about this case when it comes to Michael Flynn. He's like the boy who cried wolf. He lies so much, you have no idea when he's telling the truth. Secondly, from another perspective, he's a rat. He cooperated, gave up information. Tony Soprano would have had him whacked. Finally, Judge Sullivan is like Bobby Brown. It's his prerogative. There's no discussion here. Rule 48 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure require him to approve a dismissal of any indictment by the government. So it's up to him. It's his prerogative. Next, he can appoint a special prosecutor to investigate Flynn under Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure 42. So unless the government is going to say these rules enacted by Congress, and this is the funny part about this congressman putting this resolution forward, is basically you're saying the whole federal criminal code should be thrown out. Obviously, that's not going to happen. This is just political cover, and it's eventually going to get rejected by the appellate courts.
Okay. Governor Walker, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you disagree with some of these statements here. I'll let you respond.
Well, I mean, I think the larger issue in all this is you look at the pattern that happened under both President Obama and under Joe Biden, who the other day with George Stephanopoulos claimed that he had nothing to do with this. And to his credit, actually, amazingly, Stephanopoulos pointed out, well, Mr. Former Vice President, you were actually in that meeting where the discussion was made about outing General Flynn throughout this process. So this is a pattern that started well before the Trump administration. I think it should concern any American that he was a target from day one. He wasn't notified. All the circumstances set aside, I should say, just the question of the judge. I think the whole process is one that most Americans feel very uneasy about and really think stinks. And we shouldn't have the federal government using these tools to punish partisan opponents.
So when I had learned that Rice's memo to herself was describing what had happened on the January 5th, 2017 meeting, my question is, what was the outgoing Obama administration talking about? Why were they rather talking about President Trump's national security advisor, Michael Flynn, just days before the inauguration? Heidi, maybe you could weigh in on that?
Gosh, I mean, I'm just still so flabbergasted with what Vinoo said. I'm trying to figure out, he called the general a rat, a liar, the boy who cried wolf. I would just quickly for a moment, Vinoo, what is the evidence that you have of all of this?
Look, I've read the court filings, I've looked at the docket, and ultimately what Governor Walker's talking about and saying the pattern that he's talking about, even if all of that were true, that's why Judge Sullivan, who I know personally, he appointed me, he swore me into that court. And I know Judge Gleason, who he's appointed as potential amicus curiae, because I tried a case in front of Judge Sullivan. I'm sorry, Judge Gleason. So you have to understand that these are guys who are highly honorable, and it is really Judge Sullivan's prerogative to accept this or not. You had the DOJ prosecute this guy. He swore in open court, and Michael Flynn is not the poor or the middle-class defendant who doesn't have the resources and didn't know what he's doing. He cooperated. He brought down a bunch of other people, and this is probably why Trump is not pardoning him, because, how do you sell pardoning a rat, a snitch, to your allies? You can't do it. So that's why he's using bills.
The Department of Justice here dropped those charges, is planning to drop those charges. So, we could talk about what may the the way you're describing General Flynn is some interesting choice language here.
And I would say also, Emma, I would wonder why we say that these judges are such honorable men, but the general who served our country for his entire career, he's not honorable. I don't even know why we're talking about that.
All right. This is a lively discussion. I hate to leave on this note because it's so great, but we are out of time. Scott Walker, Heidi Collins, Vinoo, thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. You'll have to come back.